wherever you are. Good day to you. Thank you so much for joining me. So much. Looking forward to now. Thank you. Good day to you. I see people are beginning to troop in. Thank you so much. I would first want to appreciate everyone who follows me on Facebook and tune in on Facebook, because I stopped my broadcast on YouTube. So I don't do live on YouTube now. I do live only on Facebook, and then I get to upload it immediately onto YouTube. That's what I do. So please, if you're watching this on YouTube, please look for Solomon Isanga Shams and follow me, just so you can get updated. Even on YouTube, make sure you get you subscribe, and also make sure you get the notification button right. This one here. That's correct. So make sure you subscribe, and at the same time, anytime you subscribe, make sure you click on the bell. Anytime I upload, you're going to know that I upload. It's simple, isn't it? Again. Brilliant. So that's what is going to happen. So make sure you subscribe and follow me. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me about this time. I see a couple of the regulars are here already. Sakani is here already. Emerald from Lusaka, regular. Emma, what Emma does is just to blow up the Namibian flag. So I know that definitely she's watching from Namibia. As always, every time, she's a regular. Thank you so much, everyone who is joining. This is Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Isanga Shams. They call me Uncle Sol, Uncle Solomon. And I really want to appreciate every one of you. On Solomon's Temple, what we do is we bring issues around the Christian faith, around the church, and we have a dialogue around it. We do not need to agree, but all we try to do is to bring scriptures and ask ourselves, what does scripture say? What does scripture say? Or as Christians, what is our worldview telling us? How should we evaluate, analyze, and judge certain situations in the church with leaders and all that kind of thing? So I really want to appreciate every one of you. Thank you, everyone who tuned in yesterday, where I gave a breakdown of the donations that you've given towards my legal cost in my court issue with Alf Lukau. You remember Alf Lukau? Those who don't know you, he's popular for allegedly resurrecting somebody. About 2 years ago, it became a global news and all that kind of stuff. He's based here in Johannesburg. He took me to court for contempt of court, and he wants me to go to prison. And that is what he is demanding. And that is the only thing that would satisfy him. So I have legal costs that I need to meet. And a lot of you guys, even yesterday after the broadcast, somebody in Saudi Arabia sent $1,000, like $1,000. This is somebody I've never met. And I want to thank her so much. She's an African who is based in Saudi Arabia and who believed in what I do, who has been a victim herself to the atrocities, to the so many injustices created by leaders, prophets, pastors, and apostles. And that's just the way, because it's not about Solomon, it's about truth. That's what we try to push. So I want to thank you. And those of you who still want to give, I would really appreciate. And actually, I also got about $400 Australian dollars, just to give you feedback. All these things, I'm going to give you feedback. Yesterday, I gave you a breakdown of everyone that gave and what it was used for. That's my idea of doing stuff. And I really want to thank my wife. My wife is an auditor. So when I say my wife is an auditor, you know what I mean. She's an accountant. She's an auditor. She audits stuff. So putting stuff together like that becomes very easy for me, and making sure there's accountability, and ethics, because that's what it is. It becomes very easy for me because of her. So I want to thank her so much. And if you guys, like I said, if some of you guys still want to give, please you do that using this account. Account name is NL Asham, net bank account number, everything is there. Please do that. Whatever you want to give. Some people got in touch this morning and said, Solomon, I want to give, but I want to remain anonymous. And we respect that. We don't put their names out there. And if you feel PayPal is the best way for you to do it, here is my PayPal account, solomontalks@yahoo.com. solomonstock@yahoo.com. That's my PayPal account. Please connect with us on Telegram. We have a Telegram group. And people who pray, we post prayer items, we post scriptures together. We keep praying for truth to penetrate every part of the church, every part of our community, and we pray together and we agree on a lot of stuff. And if you want to join that, you can only do that via Telegram. We call them our Telegram partners. You can do that through +27 67 397 7197. Just send your name and then we shall include you. It's as simple as that. Thank you so much. I see people from Limpopo are here. Wow, someone all the way from the US. Ruvimbo, my very, very good friend. I'm gonna have you on one of my broadcasts soon. She's out in the United Kingdom. David from Kicc, just across the road from here. Thank you, brother David. Thank you so much. Good to have you. There is from Kempton Park, there's Job. Quite a few people. So I thank you guys. But I'm just going to quickly dive into what I want to discuss, in the next 20 minutes or so. I want to discuss the issue of a Nigerian. Sometimes as a Nigerian is shameful, embarrassing, disappointing to discuss issues that put Nigeria in a bad light. Issues that does not really reflect who God is within our country, within our leaders. It's sad to do that. Now, I want to talk to you about a Nigerian who was arrested by the FBI in a $11 million BEC scheme. Now, when the FBI arrests you, that is something very tough. And when he was arrested here, he was a suspect. But today he's not a suspect because first he denied that he was involved in the crime. And the second thing, later on, he saw he was being pushed to the corner. And then he later on accepted that he was guilty. So now he's about to be sentenced. And his sentence is said to be, they're probably going to sentence him to about 20 years in prison. And this is somebody who is young. It's a 33-year-old Obina. Anyway, they call him Obi Okeke. This is him being invited to speak at the London School of Economics and Political Science. You know what that means? For you to be invited to speak at the London School of Economics and Political Science, that means you are definitely a top dog in your field. You are definitely somebody who has been successful. Now, Obina is currently 33. He became a millionaire in dollars when he was about 27, 26. He is a graduate of Monash University in South Africa. He is Nigerian. He was, a few years ago, he was nominated and applauded by Forbes magazine as one of the most influential young entrepreneur. He had his businesses in several countries in different areas. He has his head office in Abuja, Nigeria, and then offices also here in Johannesburg. Obviously, he had lived and studied in Johannesburg for over 5 years. So this is who we're talking about here. You can see him here on the cover of Forbes magazine. Now, if you get and hit the cover of Forbes magazine, that means you are made. You can see him there, dollars raining all around him with another lady. And the title of that article and that issue of Forbes magazine is 30 under 30. 30 people who are under 30 who have made it, who are millionaires. That is Obi Okeke. He runs a business. The big name of his company is called Invictus. They are into oil and gas, technology, and a whole lot of different businesses. Now, it's great to see a young person who becomes successful. It's great to see a young person who would, I'm all in support of young people getting successful at a very young age. We actually need more younger people who would be successful, who would rise and really be able to achieve so much and create employment and create opportunities for other people, create businesses that would employ others, create products that would be able to serve certain needs and services around our countries, around our communities, and solve problems through their business. They're solving problems. And it's great to see young people doing that. But for a lot of people that were not aware, Obi Okeke is not who he claims he was. And it was sad when I discovered that. I heard about him. Obviously, I'm a journalist, so online you come across some of articles around him, pounding how he's successful and all that kind of thing. And they said he studied in South Africa, Monash University. I was like, oh, wow, I never really knew him or anything. But then when the story changed, it totally changed. This is him in one of the Forbes magazine, under 30 under 30. So he's a global speaker. Big corporations invite him to speak because he made money when he was very young, and he's successful, and he has his businesses in so many different areas. And he comes from that's what he said, he comes from a very poor background, poverty. Unknown to many, until he was arrested by the FBI. Until he was arrested by the FBI, a lot of people thought this guy's money was straight up genuine, authentic. He worked hard, he studied hard, and he's just a successful young entrepreneur. That was what I thought myself. Until he was arrested by the FBI. He was arrested by the FBI in the US. He visited the US, and the FBI, unknown to him, has been, they've been investigating him for about 4 or 5 years. And just he was at the airport about to depart back to Nigeria, he was grabbed. He was arrested about 2 years ago. So he has been incarcerated. He's been in detention for over a year now. He was taken to court. First, he denied the allegations. What was he arrested for? He was arrested for what do we call it in Nigeria? He is a Yahoo boy. He's a scammer. He was a fraudster. He was a Yahoo boy. People who use the internet, they use emails, accounts, and they can fake the details of a certain business and pretend to be that business, and they would ask you to make certain payments into certain accounts, and they make money. People who would somehow invade the database of a big business, and once they invade the database of that big business, they now take ownership without the knowledge of the business and be interacting with their clients and ask the clients to make payments into certain businesses. And whatever they present to you, that you would think is authentic, you would think that you are actually communicating with the business that you've been communicating with. So it's online scam. Actually, The crime that this young man committed, is said to be the biggest online crime in the history of the US. Why is it that? I told you here he was arrested for in 11 million BEC scheme. That is just one of the reasons why he was arrested. Later on, they discovered that about $40 million was lost in connection to him. And about 80 people, I think all Nigerians, were actually arrested in the US, some of you guys that followed the news. So he was a Yahoo boy. But then on the other side, he was just showing that, no, he's authentic. He's into real estate. He's into oil and gas. He's into technology business. But behind the scene, he was a Yahoo boy. When he was arrested, he actually denied all the allegations against him. It took him about a year for him to confess. And he only confessed because he saw that the implications of him not admitting and being found guilty, he was going to be sentenced more harsher than what he was going to be sentenced if he just admit that he was guilty. Now he's being said that he's going to be sentenced for about 20 years in prison. This young man, he's 33 years of age, became a Yahoo boy. Now the irony of all of that is he's a church boy. Or he was a church boy, whichever way you look at it. That's the irony of all of that. So now he was arrested and incarcerated in the US, cannot leave the US. He saw that the evidences against him were so strong, so he started admitting. Now the whole trial has come to an end. They were actually supposed to give a judgment, I think yesterday or today, which he's going to be sentenced. And it's been said he's not going to be sentenced for anything less than 20 years. But as the judge prepares to sentence him, his family members, his friends, and people he has interacted with were asked to write letters to plead with the judge to temper justice with mercy, or mercy with justice, whichever way you look at it. And one of the people that actually wrote to the judge is Pastor Ike Nwanze. Now I know Pastor Ike Nwanze. He was, or is still, the pastor of KICC, Kingsway International Christian Center in Johannesburg, in Honeydew, Johannesburg, South Africa. He's been in South Africa for about 10 years. KICC is under the leadership of Pastor Matthew Ashimolowo from London, England. Now, Pastor Ike Nwanze was one of the people who wrote to the judge, telling the judge to please not sentence this young man who has defrauded people, connected with defrauding people, of about $40 million to temper justice with mercy. And I don't have a problem when you plead for somebody, we plead for each other. It's the right way to do it. We can do that. But you see, the challenge for me is we have a lot of churches. I'm Nigerian, so I'll boldly say that. We have a lot of churches in South Africa where the pastors know that there are members within the church who are drug dealers, members within the church who are 419 scammers, who are Yahoo boys, who are fraudsters. They know, but they do not address it. Some of them pray for them to be successful. Some of them know that the money that he's giving you, the tens of thousands that he's giving you, is money that was gotten fraudulently, but they keep quiet because they're enjoying the money. I know churches, I know pastors who condone that. I know pastors who actually came to me and said, look, I ran away from that person as a pastor because they told me what they do and they wanted me to pray for them. I said, no, I cannot do that. So there are Nigerian pastors that do not tolerate that at all. And I don't think you have fulfilled your role as a pastor if you would have a church member who's donating and giving money and all that, and you're trying to tell me you do not know what their business is. Your role as a pastor, you're not just a pastor, you're somebody that would see certain things. God will show you. You will see certain things about this person that are not okay. So this young man served with KICC. He was a member there when he was studying at Monash University for about 5 years. So this pastor here, Pastor Ike Nwanze, decided to write to the judge in the US. He wrote to the judge in the US. And we're going to go through what he wrote. I don't have a problem you writing and trying to plead, as long as the person has repented. And how do we know that this person has truly repented? Because this person, even in their statement that is still in court, is saying that he was involved in 419, he was involved in Yahoo, he was involved in scamming others, that he didn't do it knowingly and intentionally. Come on. You built a big business with criminal money and you didn't do it intentionally. And then now it's time for judgment. And the pastor was told to write, and the pastor is writing in support of you. Should we as Christians actually, how should we navigate something like that? Maybe I don't even have the answers. How should we navigate supporting people in that kind of position who've confessed that they are guilty? They defrauded other people. Remember, they stole from other people. 419 is stealing. Yahoo is stealing. Scamming people is stealing. That's what was done. Let's go through his letter to the judge that was listening to the case. So, there is one, like I told you, so many people wrote to the judge and trying to give some sort of support later about his character, about who he is, just so the judge would not sentence him to the maximum sentence or would just make sure they exercise mercy. And one of such persons is Okeke's pastor at Kingsway International Christian Center, South Africa, KICC, South SA, Ikechukwu Nwanze. Nwanze said the character of the convicted Okeke was not consistent with fraud. Now, how do you even say the character of a 419er, the character of a Yahoo boy, is not consistent with fraud? If the character of this person wasn't consistent with fraud, how were you not even able to see that he was a fraudster when he was still there with you? Obviously, I know he's a businessman and he's Nigerian, and Nigerian business people give money to church. People that have money in Nigeria, they give money to church, whether they got money the right way or the wrong way. So obviously, this boy has been giving you money, has been giving money to the church. Now you're saying his character of the convicted criminal, of the convicted Okeke, was not consistent with fraud. If you are a good judge of character, you would have known that this guy is a fraudster. And you were saying you're a pastor led by the Spirit of God. If you are a good judge of character, now you have the audacity to come and talk about his character not being consistent with fraud. How much do you know him? Let me give you a benefit of a doubt. Maybe you do not know him enough. And if you do not know him enough, then you have no reason to write this letter that you wrote to the judge. For somebody to defraud people of about $40 million, just one business corporation lost $11 million. For somebody who is a criminal and has networks in so many different countries of 419ers and Yahoo boys and scammers in South Africa, all over the US, and now you're saying his character was not consistent with fraud? Maybe it's about time we actually start smelling fraud, just so we know there's fraud. And he goes on to say, he said that I know Mr. Okeke as he was a member of my congregation at KICC South Africa for a period of 5 years. And at that time, he was a student at Monash University in South Africa, once they said in a letter to the judge. You know him for 5 years. There's more. He said, I was quite intrigued at the time that a young man his age wanted to make something of his life. He was involved in youth activities in the church, and I had asked him at the time to be a keynote speaker at one of the business conference. So obviously, he was involved in church. He wanted to make something out of his life, understandably so. So you were interacting with this person, and at that point, I'm sure that person was in the money. Because remember, this guy almost like just made money overnight. He became a millionaire when he was like 27, 28. So we're talking about what? About 5-6 years ago. And he does business in South Africa. So he has office in South Africa. He has offices in Nigeria. So you interact with this person quite often. I'm sure you call each other. You talk to each other. I'm sure you as a pastor, when you have some sort of financial challenge, you call him, please, can you support me with 50,000 rand? And he would do that. And that's fine. But for you to say you do not know the source of his money, a young person, how you saw he just made money overnight, and you have the Spirit of God in you. Is it because you do not know and you were blind? Or is it because you knew but you decided to turn a blind eye to it just because the monies that he was giving you was okay? He probably bought you a car. Or once every month he sends 100,000 into your account or into the church's account. And you are covering his sin. The Bible is very clear about that. You are equally as guilty as the culprit. The pastor said he was in complete shock when he found out the wrongdoings Mr. Okeke committed, insisting that it was not consistent with the character he witnessed during his tertiary education and the period he was in the church. I don't think you were shocked, Pastor. I think you turned a blind eye to that. I know why I'm saying that. I'm Nigerian, you are Nigerian, he's Nigerian. We know these things happen in a lot of churches, where we know people who are involved in scamming people, 419, Yahoo boys, or we know people who work with the government, but then they are multimillionaires, but we don't say anything about it. How can you work with the government? You're working with the government and you're a multimillionaire. We keep quiet. Just because they're bringing in money. That's my suspicion, Pastor. That's my suspicion. It seems you've gotten comfortable with receiving money from people, dodgy people. And I must say and confess that actually even the same church, KICC, South Africa, I've received news about 6-7 years ago that in that church, there were drug dealers. Now, I'm not saying drug dealers shouldn't come to church. But when drug dealers come to church and you do not address it, you do not speak to them, you tolerate them, you're okay with them, then that's a big problem. There's another Nigerian pastor in downtown Johannesburg. Drug dealers comes to his church and he knows them. He said at one point he spoke to them and they all ran away because they saw he wasn't ready to tolerate any of their criminality. He told them straight up, you, I myself would expose you. I would take you to the police. I would not pray for God's judgment will come on you. You know, they ran away because it wasn't a comfortable place. Because drug dealers are also looking for some sort of a shelter, a covering, believe it or not. 419ers, Yahoo boys are also looking criminals. In Nigeria, some criminals, armed robbers, even before they go steal, you know, they go and ask the priest or the pastor to pray for them. In South Africa, you see all these hitmen and criminals, before they go steal or hijack a car or go commit a heist, they go to a sangoma to go and pray for them and do all the rituals. It's the same thing. Let's read the last part of his letter. He said, I want to use this opportunity, Your Honor, to plead for leniency on your judgment and also on behalf of Mr. Okeke. Deeply apologize to victims of these nefarious activities and to the government of the United States. Nwanze told the judge. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to ask this question. What if this pastor had told this young boy, remember he was like what, 23, 24 when he was going to that church, and told him, look, this your Yahoo business, your 419 and scamming business is not going to take you nowhere. Stop it. I'm not in support of it. What maybe he would have been the one to help him to use his skills and his talent in a moral way. And that's the big question that I have, because there's a lot of pastors who condone certain things. They condone corruption. They condone cheating. They don't say anything about it. They keep quiet. They know, but they keep quiet because they don't want to lose the support, the financial support and the influence that that person brings to the church. You don't build a church like that. You're building a club, not a church. You're building a club. And it breaks my heart that this 33-year-old, I mean, I'm older than him like 10 years. This 33-year-old man, old younger man, he's been incarcerated now. He's probably going to spend 20 years in prison in the US and get deported straight to Nigeria with nothing to start with. This person that we projected up on the cover of Forbes magazine, we're celebrating him as one of the youngest millionaires in Africa. Now he's fallen flat. What a shame. What a shame. I brought this to our attention because there are a lot of churches and ministry that collaborate with Yahoo boys, with scammers, with fraudsters, with 419ers, with criminals, with hitmen, with people who go do heist. There's a lot of churches, there's a lot of pastors that collaborate with them. They collaborate how? Because they keep quiet. They know what they're doing. Some of them pray for them. We accept the loot that they bring, the spoils from the kill, the spoils from the 419, from the victims, the spoils from the heist. We accept it. And sadly, some churches also help these people to clean their money. They bring criminal money into the system because they know that money, if you put it into the bank, there's going to be questions. If you put it once into the financial system, there's going to be questions. So you put it into the church, and somehow, because the church is not for profit, an NGO or whatever, there's a way that you can clean the money and it goes back to them again. You give a split to the church or the pastor, you keep this. I'm telling you true stories here. So it's time that we stop using the church profile, the church platform, to continue to have these atrocities. This young man made a mistake, and I do hope that he has repented, truly repented. I do hope that he told the judge the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And this pastor, this young man here, he needs to repent and make things right. And I hope this pastor would come out from inside of his conscience, that he would do what is right. Even if he had benefited from the loot, he would do what is right. We need to sanitize the church. We need to bring the church back to where Christ would want it. That's all I want to share with you today. Tomorrow I'll be back. I will be bringing in 2 guests who lost their marriages, who lost their wives to their church. They lost their wives to their church in Cape Town. I'll be bringing them in to talk about it. Don't forget to get involved with us on Telegram. Join our Telegram partners using this number, +27 67 397 7197. And also still receiving donations and help from people who would help with my legal costs. With my case against Alf Lukao, please, you can do that via this account number. Thank you everyone for giving. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. You can do that via PayPal also, solomontalks@yahoo.com. Keep praying for the case. Keep praying for me. The will of God shall be done. God is on the throne. We look up to him. I thank you. God bless you. And I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day, whatever part of the world you are. Don't forget to visit my YouTube channel. There are a lot of other videos there that you would find really interesting and educative and also spiritually enriching. Remember, we are supposed to be sanitizing the church, but we need to sanitize ourselves first. And if you're not sanitized, you cannot sanitize the church. So stay sanitized. God bless you.